name's Gary Thurman, CEO and your host at Guardian Investment Advisors. I'm here with my fiduciary advisors, Tim McDermott and Bobby Futch today, and we are going to have an awesome show. First of all, gentlemen, Tim, how you doing, buddy?
Fantastic. Had a great weekend. Got to hang out with the kiddos. Have a little fun, yeah.
Had a little fun, right? Well, how about you, Bobby?
Yeah, same. It was a great weekend. We were out doing some television, which is always fun.
Yeah, we had a great time out there, right? It's always fun to go out and, not necessarily get out of the office, but go out and hang out with other advisors
that's really the cool
watch
part.
their TV shows and listen and learn. Sammy the Duck got to make another TV appearance. He actually got a TV appearance in Cincinnati this past week.
I
So
think that officially makes him, nationwide? Is that?
we're getting there. Sammy's pretty important. They wanted to keep him at the studio, and I was like, no. Sammy's coming back to Chattanooga. But, hey, listen, thanks for tuning in. We got a good show today because we're going to talk about not necessarily some fears. We're just going to talk about 15 topics that are important stepping into retirement and kind of dissect all those things. We're going to throw a few quizzes at you guys today where you, from the comfort of your home, you can sit there and take these quizzes. We're going to do some about Roth conversions. We're going to do something about a reality check, just some different quizzes we're going to throw at you guys today just to make sure you're on top of your game getting into retirement. So, guys, let's just jump right in. Tim, I want to start with you because we all know the number one fear in America is running out of money. I don't think we'll ever stop talking about this. It's a big deal.
Certainly doesn't feel like it.
Right.
It's, in complaints, the number one thing that we talk about when you walk in the office, can we take this asset that you built over your career time and turn it into an income that you can enjoy through retirement, right? So how do we do that, right? And that's where we use our bucket system.
Mm-hmm.
We developed a bucket system that uses a red, yellow, and green bucket, depending on the type of money that you have, to reduce risk and guarantee an income for life.
Yeah, so Bobby, how are we doing that? I mean, income's a big deal. The old 4% rule, take 4% out of your portfolio, you're going to make it till age 90, guaranteed income. The more I think about that, I retire with $1 million and I can only take $40,000 out a year.
Yeah.
And then if the market goes down, I'm
It's
hurting
less than
myself
that.
even worse.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize about the 4% rule. To your point, if I retire with $1 million, 4% is $40,000, but it's 4% of what that portfolio is at that given time.
Yeah, there you go.
And so if you have a 20% correction in the market, you're taking 20% less in income.
Yeah.
So one of the most important things you have to do in retirement is take your buckets of savings or your buckets of assets and turn them into income streams. We say this a lot. A 401k and IRA is not an income stream.
They're just a vehicle.
It's a tool that you can develop into an income stream, and that's one of the biggest things we do to help people plan for retirement is making sure that you have those income streams, just like your paycheck that you worked so hard for all those years that you can't outlive.
So Tim, I want to bring up some words to you that I think really plays a part of income, and that's longevity risk.
Yep.
I mean, we're living longer, so therefore we get to plan better for that income. Is that correct?
Yeah, isn't this kind of the core to most of the new fears in today's world, right? Longevity affects, how long you're living, so you need income for longer. The longer you live, the more healthcare issues that you do have at the end of the day. It presents a pile of different obstacles throughout retirement, including tax issues that
Right.
could come along, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually glad that these concerns are at the top of the list and people are having to deal with it because the reasons they come about are positive.
Right.
We're
Sure.
living longer, medicine's gotten better, we're able to live longer
Healthier.
sick, right, or be healthier longer. And so that's really a byproduct of these really positive things, but you have to plan for it.
So what about this, Bobby? Someone comes into us and, we always say it's your go-go years. You've been working 30, 40 years. It's time to go and have some fun. Can we adjust the income for people, like pay them more a little bit for the first 10 years and pay them a little less? Can we do that kind of strategy?
Yeah, we absolutely can, and that's a pretty popular one because you're right. We talk about the go-go years, then you go into the slow-go years, and then as you get older...
Unfortunately, we go to the no-go years.
The no-go years.
Yeah.
And if you live retirement the way that you probably want to, right, you want to spend more when you got the opportunity to do. You want to go travel. You want to go spoil the grandkids. And so you absolutely can come up with an income strategy that pays you more in the beginning when you want and can do.
There's actually a new program from that green bucket that specifically does this, right? And it allows you to take a substantially larger income for the first 10 years and then reduces for the next 20, 30, 40 plus years. And it's designed to say, okay, hey, when we retire, we want to make sure we have a specific budget to go travel or spoil the grandkids
Right.
or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And you're kind of front loading that retirement costs, which is awesome on a program that's still guaranteed for life.
Yeah, I love that, guys. So longevity risk. Let's go back to that, Bobby. Tim mentioned this earlier. Yes, that really comes into play with our income planning, our Social Security planning, which we're going to talk about before the end of the show. But what about health care? I mean, I am seeing major costs personally for some of the prescriptions that I'm getting now. The rate increase on these prescriptions, the inflation on health care, it's really driving hard, and it's really hurting a lot of retirees right now.
Yeah, healthcare is one of the biggest inflated programs in the country, and so we talk about inflation, just under 3% currently, but medical care and prescriptions easily twice that.
Yeah.
Which is huge, and you have to take that into account. That's why we have Tanner Moore on staff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of firms, including in my past, will just go, okay, we're going to handle the financial side of this. You need to go somewhere else to take care of the medical side. But you really have to do those both together. And being able to figure out what your exposure is, your out-of-pockets
Right.
for your medical care. Is
Medicare
huge.
gaps.
Medicare gaps.
I
'Cause
like that.
They exist. Medicare doesn't cover everything. And it's really misunderstood a lot of times and doesn't cover a lot of what you think it does.
Let's stay on that for a minute, because I think a lot of people choose the wrong Medicare plan as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two really just kind of ways you can go in Medicare. Tanner's taught me a lot about that, just working alongside him here. And you have to know what your particular plan covers, and you have to look at it and review it just like your financial plan. You need to at least look at it every year.
Oh, absolutely.
And we did a show last week specifically on Medicare, and what we wanted to try to drive home there is that open enrollment window is going to start very soon, right?
Oh,
November
absolutely,
15th
Yeah.
is when that open enrollment period starts, so you can make those adjustments to your plan. And if you're with us here, you'll meet Tanner, talk about it, and then he'll share that with us as your financial planner, so we know what kind of financial costs we have to help you plan for next year.
Yeah, if you're looking for some Medicare information, we actually have a way that you can get that. It's by texting the word Medicare to 877-706-7526. Text the word Medicare, 877-706-7526. Medicare covers all long-term care costs, Tim.
Sure. We'll go with that. For the first 100 days, I believe that's true.
I think that's about right.
After you get admitted to the hospital,
That's
so
right.
the
Yeah,
window
that's
gets
correct.
even smaller.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, so for those first 100 days in the hospital, you do get some coverage from Medicare to help take care of that. After that, you're kind of on your own, right? And so that's where the long-term care planning takes place, right? There's a stat out there about, I think Fidelity did the study. It was $315,000 is what's going to be needed for a healthy 65-year-old throughout retirement just to take care of healthcare costs. And that doesn't include the long-term care costs. That number's since been updated, I think, to $375,000.
So as a matter of fact, Tim, I saw yesterday, just yesterday, for an individual 65-year-old, $174,000.
Yeah.
So think about if you're a couple.
Yeah.
Woo!
Crazy.
That's big money, guys, and that's not counting long-term care.
Yeah, and if you're out there listening today, that's $174,000 you're going to need in retirement just to take care of healthcare needs, because they know how inflated that program is. They know how expensive treatments can be, and so having the right program, to what Bobby and Gary were just talking about, helps mitigate that cost and allows you to use those funds for something better in retirement, right?
So we got about a couple of minutes left on this, guys. 'Cause I started the clock late. I'm just going to tell you guys right now. So I want to stay on this topic, though, just for a few minutes, because we're going to get into taxes next, and I want to say that for the next segment. Bobby, long-term care is such a scary subject. Tim just said that we're going to spend $174,000 for a single 65-year-old in health care. God forbid if you get sick.
Yeah.
Traditional long-term care insurance is just not that great of an offering right now. I mean, it just, if you have it, keep it.
Yeah.
But we have different ways we can protect people now if they get sick.
Yeah, traditional long-term care insurance is very expensive if you can even get it. And they do have the right, they being the insurance company, to raise those premiums every year.
Yep.
And we're seeing that year in and year out. And so we haven't written a traditional long-term care policy in years.
I think the last one I wrote was probably 10 years ago.
10 years ago?
Yeah.
Because there are better ways to do it.
Right.
Using fixed indexed annuities is a really popular way to care for those. whether it's getting that guaranteed income we talked about and having a long-term care benefit to double that income
Right.
if you need it.
Yep.
That's huge, and most of those contracts are up to 5 years, and the average need for long-term care is
3.1.
almost
Yeah.
3.5.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to cover it. Or if you have some extra investments there are other vehicles that you can put money into a contract just to care for long-term care and leverage that asset 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that is it continues to grow
On a fixed rate.
on a fixed rate.
Yeah.
And if you don't use it, awesome, great for you. All that money plus the growth is available for your beneficiaries.
So the second one you talked about, we call that asset-based long-term care. You got to qualify for that, but the qualification is pretty easy.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
way
it's
easier,
really easy.
way easier than traditional long-term care.
But if you're someone out there today and you're listening, you're like, guys, there's no way I'm going to pass any kind of pre-suitability exam for long-term care. That's where those fixed index annuities come in because there's no pre-screening.
yeah,
You got a waiting period of 12 months or 24 months.
because it's a fixed indexed annuity and not it's not primarily designed for long-term care coverage. There's no medical questions.
Not at all. I think it's awesome. So, folks, if you're listening out there today, and, we just talked about a couple of things. First of all, running out of money. Income is the number one thing we talk about here at Guardian Investment Advisors. Tim explained our bucket strategy. That green bucket is going to make sure that you and your spouse have an income for the rest of your life. You just got to come in and see how it works. It's really simple, to be honest with you. Then we really talked about health care and long-term care. That is something we'd love to help you with on the Medicare side and or on the long-term care side. We can do it for you here at Guardian Investment Advisors. I want you to take this quiz down, get a piece of paper out and a pen, GIAquiz.com, GIAquiz.com. It's a 35-question test. It's going to let you know if you are truly ready to retire. Again, GIAquiz.com. When we come back, we're going to dig deep into taxes, Social Security planning, and inflation and cost of living. We'll be right back. In the U.S., it takes an average of 12.5 months for families to legally resolve all financial matters after someone passes away. As a financial advisor, I realize how delicate it can be talking about end of life and financial matters. But that is why I'm here, to help make that hard conversation about taking care of your loved ones easier to have. What if your beneficiaries need some funds sooner than 12 months to cover medical expenses, funeral costs, or monthly bills? That's where Guardian Investment Advisors has you covered. There is a financial solution where we would place a portion of your assets you're already planning on leaving to your loved ones into a guaranteed issue life insurance policy. Within 48 hours, these funds can be provided to your family with confirmation from the funeral home. I'm Gary Thurman, CEO of Guardian Investment Advisors. We are your neighbors right here in the Tennessee Valley. Call us today. Your peace of mind starts with a simple conversation. Welcome back to Plan Today, Own Tomorrow with Guardian Investment Advisors. I am Gary Thurman, your host, and I'm here with my good friends and fiduciary advisors, Tim McDermott, Bobby Futch. We're having a fun show today. We're talking about a couple of different things. We're going to try to get to all 15. I'm not sure we will. But we're talking about some different things that you need to be thinking about pre-retirement and in retirement. We want to get you to retirement and through retirement. That's what we do here at Guardian Investment Advisors. So we talked about running out of money, income planning. It's very, very important. We talked about health care and long-term care. Threw out a couple of quizzes for you guys, GIAquiz.com, GIAquiz.com. And again, if you'd like to get a Medicare guide, text the word Medicare, 877-706-7526. Again, 877-706-7526. Gentlemen, I'm kind of disappointed. I left Sammy the Duck at home because we're jumping into taxes. It's my fault. It's my fault. I left him at home. He's resting well.
Yeah, he's getting
Phoenix wore him out, man.
I believe
I mean, he had to put up with Joe Wilson like for hours, and that's a big job.
He did some flying too out there.
He did a lot. Yeah, he did. Actually, it's a little dirty. I got to get him cleaned up. So, but I want to jump into probably the hottest topic over the last several years here in our beautiful United States of America, and that's taxes. I mean, taxes they're on sale right now, Bobby. I mean, we're in the third lowest tax bracket we've ever been in. The big, beautiful, you want to say it?
Bill.
Big, you like saying it different. Anyway, the big, beautiful bill.
It's big and it's beautiful.
It's big and it's beautiful. Just came out, and it really postponed, I guess is the way to say it. It kept the 2017 Secure Act tax rates going, and they say forever. And what do you say about that?
I always say it's permanent until it's not.
Permanent till it's not. But we know it's going to be permanent through 2028.
That's right.
All right, so we've got a 4-year window, more or less. let's talk about that. Let's talk about the opportunities people need to be thinking about during this low tax season that we're in.
So I think the big beautiful bill did extend those low income tax rates for another 4 years. But what it also meant was they kind of kicked the can down the road. I think we can all agree here that taxes are going to go up in the future, and they probably should have raised them maybe a little bit to make it, when it does change, not to change as drastically. But now that we know we have this 4-year window of low tax rates, it's probably going to go up substantially in 2029. So the window you're talking about is paying those taxes while they're on sale. We have another 4 years to take advantage of accelerating income, doing Roth conversions. Let's take as much income, on our income tax return as we can in that window, so we don't have to pay it later when we don't know what's going to happen.
So Tim, I'm going to jump into this because I think there's so much confusion about purchasing a Roth IRA or doing a Roth conversion. As a matter of fact, someone just came up to me not too long ago and said, well, Gary, I can't do a Roth conversion because I make too much money. So therefore, I can't make a $7,500 purchase into a Roth IRA. Explain the difference between purchasing a Roth IRA and converting a Roth IRA.
Yeah, I think this is very much misunderstood. In fact, Tristan and I are working on a video series right now explaining the different types of retirement accounts that are out there just for this reason, right? Because you're not the only one that's heard that recently. Bobby and I have both heard that. Hey, I make too much. You guys talk about Roth all the time. Can I actually do one of these?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a common misnomer here. Contributions and conversions are treated differently. A contribution is new money. So let's just assume the money's sitting in your checking account. You want to add that money to a new Roth IRA or an existing Roth IRA. Well, you're limited on how much you can put in there per year. Right now it's $7,000, $8,000 with a catch-up, and that's per person per year. And you have to make under a certain income amount in order to be able to make that contribution. So if you're a high earner or a high household earners, then you may not be able to make that contribution. However, conversions have no limitations. You can convert as much as you want, whenever you want, with no income limitations. That's strong.
Yes, it is.
And I'm not sure it will always be that way. In fact, it's been put on the chopping block through Congress a few times that they may put some limitations on those. But right now, there are no limitations to it. You just have to be willing to fork over the cash to pay the taxes to Uncle Sam whenever you do that.
Yeah, that strategy also allows what's called a backdoor Roth conversion. And so if you're a high-income earner and you can't directly contribute to a Roth IRA, well, what you can do is use the back door. And what that really means is contribute to a traditional IRA or 401k.
You wouldn't get the tax
convert
deduction because you make too much to contribute to a traditional IRA.
Right. But you could turn around, contribute to that IRA, and then convert it. So there's an extra step, but there are ways to work around that if that's something that makes sense in your plan.
And how important is for someone, if they're going to do this backdoor Roth IRA, how important is it for them to work with a fiduciary advisor? Because that's a little complicated, correct?
It can be. It doesn't have to be overly complicated as long as you know what you're doing. You set it up, boom, 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 3 steps and you're done. But you do want to make sure that somebody is accounting for it in an appropriate manner, because if you make too much to contribute to an IRA, then you can't just add that money to a current IRA that you already have. You do need to set up a separate IRA to make sure the accounting is properly accounted for.
So, Bobby, someone's out there, they're 55, 60 years old, they're 40 years old. It doesn't matter how old they are. They have an old 401k. Can they take that old 401k and convert it into a Roth?
Yeah, absolutely it can. And I would suggest anytime you leave an employer, kind of unlock
Take control of that money.
Take control of the money. 401k plans are a great way to just collect assets. I think there's kind of subpar when it comes to managing assets. And so whenever you have the opportunity to roll a 401k to an IRA, do it, right? Take control of those assets. The investment opportunities are much better there. And then sometimes it makes sense, depending on your income limit and your income tax situation, to go ahead and convert that to a Roth. The earlier you can get into a tax-free status, the more powerful it is.
We're in an interesting position right now, and I know we got a few
Well,
points to
hey,
go through.
This is important.
But we're at an interesting point in time right now with the big, beautiful bill enacting that extra $6,500 tax credit
On Social Security?
Yeah, so on anything, really.
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
It was intended to wipe out the taxes on Social Security, but it's not directly tied to Social Security.
Yeah.
So what this could mean is that, hey, maybe you're a married couple making $75,000 a year, including your Social Security and pensions, whatever else you got going on. If you have that extra $6,500 tax credit, the math is supposed to work out to where you are essentially tax-free up to about $100,000 a year. That leaves you a $25,000 difference to still be tax-free. Maybe it makes sense for you to go and do some Roth conversions of that $25,000, and it really may cost you nothing out of pocket.
It may not cost you
You're
anything.
getting those credits.
That's right.
And you really don't want to leave that benefit on the table.
Take advantage of it.
So make sure you look at it this year and moving forward, because you've got tax credits that didn't exist last year, and you can have more income that may be tax-free or taxed at a much lower rate.
So if I break that back down, that could mean, doesn't always mean, but it could mean that you contributed to an IRA account, got the tax deduction, got the tax deferred growth, and then later on in life, you got to Roth convert it tax-free.
It's pretty awesome.
That could be amazing.
Yeah, that's really good. You know, something else, guys, we were talking about long-term care a few minutes ago and some of these vehicles we have. You know, we got a couple we're working with right now. He had an old 401k, $160,000. With this program, he gets a 25% bonus on the $160,000. Then we start converting that over the next 10 years into a long-term care plan. Now, right off the bat, they get a tax-free death benefit more than the $160,000. So his money's protected, tax-free. If he dies, the taxable money's still there for the beneficiaries as well. But day one, gentlemen, the couple, both of them, got $7,000 a month for long-term care, unlimited if they need it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So there's so many different cool vehicles out there that we can use. So again, we've talked about running out of money, health care costs, long-term care costs. We spend a lot of time right there on taxes, and that's what we're here to do, to help you with all this. One thing I'd like to throw out there at you, if you're interested in a Roth conversion and you just kind of want to get your toes in the water, check it out, go to GIARothquiz.com, GIARothquiz.com. Great quiz to take to see if you're ready to do some Roth conversions. All right, guys, we've got about 3 minutes left in this segment, and I want to dive into Social Security. You know, I'm 62, I'm 67, I'm 70. I just don't know when to turn on Social Security, Tim. I'm going to start with you. When is the time to optimize your Social Security benefit with longevity risk to think about?
Sure. This changes from person to person, depending on your situation. There's penalization that you could see if you turn that on before full retirement age and you're still working. You could see a penalty taken. So we don't want to have that happen. But there is a time value of money to consider here, meaning that spending down your assets is not as effective as turning on Social Security earlier. There's a difference between an 8% roll-up and an 8% rate of return. By taking that 8% roll-up and deferring that income out that you needed, you're now drawing down on an asset that doesn't continue to work for you throughout retirement, and that could be a massive difference in what the overall value of your assets are at the end of the day.
Yeah, because it depletes what's there working for you.
That's right.
And we got to remember, you can turn Social Security on and live for another 30 years.
Yeah.
And so if you're drawing extra money out of your savings, your investment portfolios, instead of taking Social Security, not only is it not there for you now because you spent it, but it's not going to be there in 30 years when it could double or triple in value.
We've got a couple we're meeting with today in Knoxville, Tennessee. They're both 63 years old, and we're going to encourage them to go ahead and turn it on. It's $50,000 a year. Now we're not going to have to pull that out of their retirement portfolios, right, Bobby?
Yeah,
that's a big
exactly
deal.
Right.
You
It's
think
huge.
about the difference between age 62 and 67. That's 5 years. If you pulled $50,000 a year out of your portfolio that you didn't need to for 5 years, that's $250,000
without growth.
Without growth.
That isn't going to continue to grow for you throughout retirement.
That's big. That's a big point to make right there.
Just using the rule of 72, that doubles to $500,000 and $1 million within 20 years.
It's wild. And most people look at that 8% roll-up and go, I got to have it. I want to argue against you. Of course, you got to take into account your situation,
your health,
your
everything.
longevity risk, but we almost always encourage people to take it early.
I think it's crazy. And one thing I'm going to say in closing, I think you need to sit down with a fiduciary advisor to make sure you optimize your Social Security benefits. Don't just do what everybody else does. You're different. You're an individual. You need to do what's right for you. A couple things to throw out. GIAquiz.com. GIAquiz.com. It's a reality check. And we just talked about Roth conversions. GIARothquiz.com. GIARothquiz.com. When we come back, we're going to jump into market volatility, choosing the right advisor, and we're going to finish up with the big, beautiful bill. We'll be right back.
You might not be able to retire if you haven't thought about future inflation and future taxes. When you're going through your retirement plan, are you thinking about inflation? Does your current plan have inflation built into it? The national average is about 3%. Of course, it's been really, really high the last few years, but it has come back down. But you've got to build inflation into your retirement plan because we don't want to run out of money. Another thing I stress to my clients all the time is we got to think about future taxes. Our government has one source of income, and that is taxes. And I promise you, with $34 trillion in debt, $2 more trillion being added this year in 2024, the interest only on our national debt is $1 trillion. Folks, taxes are going to go up. You've got a window of opportunity in 2024 and 2025 while taxes are still on sale. Let's start looking at maybe taking some of your taxable money to tax-free money. This is all part of the Wealth Guard planning process. We'll do this for you when we're creating an income plan. You got to think about inflation and you got to think about taxes. Give us a call today and come in and see myself and my team, and let's put this plan together for you.
Hey guys, welcome back to Plan Today, Own Tomorrow. My name's Gary Thurman. You are listening to Guardian Investment Advisors, and sitting here with my good friends and fiduciary advisors, Tim McDermott, Bobby Futch, and we're having a great conversation today about all things retirement. We've talked about income planning, healthcare planning, long-term care planning, spent a lot of times on taxes and Roth conversions, and we just finished up that second segment talking about how to optimize your Social Security benefit. So there's so many moving parts when you go into retirement. I want to invite you to come in and sit down with these guys because we care about what we do. We want to put a plan together for you so every single day feels like a Saturday in retirement and you have no stress. That's the whole point for us. Gentlemen, let's jump into market volatility. Bobby, you and I were looking at a Wall Street Journal article this morning talking about recessions and all these different things that is going on out there. And the markets are like roller coasters, right? They're fun when they're going up. They're fast. But boy, when they go down, they're a little bit scary.
Yeah.
So what should pre-retirees and retirees be looking at or thinking about when it comes to market volatility?
Yeah, the funny part about that Wall Street Journal article was it was titled, "We were promised a recession."
We were promised.
Right, and so they were making kind of a joke of
Well,
it.
it does kind of feel like we've not had the one that we're supposed to have had, right?
And the joke was, hey, where's it at? The market was supposed to go down. We're obviously happy it hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen. And it always happens. It's part of having a healthy market and a healthy economy. I always like to say trees don't grow to the sky, right? They only go up so far. But you have to make sure that you understand the risk with your red bucket money. In our bucket system, the red bucket money is the money that's in the market. You want all the benefits of your red bucket money. It grows the best out of all the buckets, and that's the best way to keep up with inflation and taxes. You shouldn't be afraid of a recession or a pullback, but you need to plan for it because it can happen, and if it's bigger than what you think it's going to be, it can really derail your plan.
So is timing the most important thing with how much you can take in your portfolio, Tim, as far as when it comes to risk?
Yeah, so I want to make sure we're not overly concerned about market timing, right? Market timing is a dangerous.
I should have said that different.
No, but
age.
I just wanted to clarify. I agree with you. Yes, making sure that we are doing our distributions and properly planning for the right time to retire and how we do it makes all the difference in the world. There's a thing called sequence of returns, and it simply says, hey, if that recession happens the first year you retire versus the 10th year of your retirement, it could make all the difference in how that portfolio performs, right?
That's a wild thing because you can have the same average rate of return in two portfolios, but depending on if the lower numbers are front loaded, you can have a lot less money in retirement, getting the same return as the other guy.
That's right.
So to put this in perspective for our listeners, if someone retired at the end of 2007,
Oof.
that was tough.
They probably unretired.
Very possible.
Yeah, in the early 2000s, when we had, the 3 years in a row, negative.
Unless they had their green bucket set up properly.
So let's talk about that. We've mentioned buckets, Bobby, a few times on the show. Red, yellow, green. The red bucket is our money in the market. That is our risk bucket. But let's talk about all three real quick.
Yeah, so again, red bucket's money in the market at risk, best returns oftentimes, but it has the most volatility. The green bucket is what I'll call really the most important one, and it's the one that makes sure that you can convert the assets you've saved into guaranteed income.
Yep.
Whether that's a fixed indexed annuity, whether that's a universal life policy, there are ways to make sure that you get that income you need regardless of what happens in the red bucket. So one of the biggest conversations we have with clients is how do you decide how much is going to be in the green bucket and the red bucket? There's a split out there that's going to be the right split for you, but it's different for everybody. So
Right.
you need to have that conversation. And then those buckets are awesome and they're flashy and they're cool to plan for, but the yellow bucket's important. That's just your cash money.
Yeah.
That's the money
Gotta
that's
have
sitting
it.
on the sidelines. When the transmission tears up, you get a hole in your roof. Things are going to happen in
Yep.
retirement. Just because you retire doesn't mean you don't have those expenses. And the yellow bucket is the one to cover that.
But do you feel, Bobby, I'm going to stay with you for a minute. Do you feel that there's some people out there, other firms, that put all of your money in the red bucket, or they put all of your money in the green bucket? I mean, that is just not the fiduciary way to do things.
Yeah, I worked with one for a long
Yes, you
time.
did, yeah.
Right? And we did. It was red bucket money all the time. And they're saying, listen, as long as you stay in the market, it's going to recover at some point and you'll grow your assets over time. The problem with that is when the market does come down and correct, are you going to quit spending?
Can't.
You still need to
can't.
pay your bills.
Yeah.
And you're just compounding that issue. You're making a 2008, a 2012, or April this year when we had a 10% correction in like 2 days.
Yeah, right.
It makes that problem even worse when you're pulling out of a declining asset.
That's right.
Isn't it so simple that we have a bucket system and it just makes retirement easy or more understandable for our clients?
It does. It makes it a lot more understandable, and it provides them with what I call sleep insurance. We
Yeah,
talk about it all
I
the
like
time
that.
here. If your green bucket, is squared away, it can afford for you to take a little more risk in the red bucket. And when those corrections do inevitably happen, I promise you they're going to happen. I don't know if it's tomorrow or next year. You're not as worried about that
That's right.
because you know you're still getting paid.
I love that. So you got to really think about your market volatility, and as me and Tim talked about it, it's really based on your age. You're in accumulation phase as you're younger, but as you get older and you stop working, the paychecks are going to go away. Now we get into distribution phase, and that's really when you need to start thinking about what your risk capacity actually is. I got a really neat quiz for you. If you want to see how risky you are in your portfolio, GIArisk.com. GIArisk.com. It's a really cool tool, really cool calculator to use. Tim, let's jump into estate planning. Now, I know this is something we've been talking about it a lot here lately. It's been coming up a lot here lately, but estate planning, it's not just for the wealthy, correct?
Yeah, no, not at all. Everyone has an estate plan. It's just a matter of whether you decided what it was or your state decided what it was, right? And so by just doing a couple of simple documents, you can really get rid of a lot of headaches for you and your children at the end of the day. There's some simple things that you should do. Bobby's a big proponent of everyone should have a will. I agree with that. It makes a ton of sense. It's a simple document. It doesn't even have to be that complicated. Theoretically, it could be as simple as writing it on a napkin at the rest stop, right? Not ideal and not recommended, but have something in place, right? You can get a package done usually through an attorney for a will and a power of attorney for healthcare and finance. That is the basics of what I think everyone should have.
Right.
And I think most people stop and think, okay, I'm retiring now. I should get this in place. You should have this in place, at the very latest by the time you have children, right?
Wow.
Get married or have children.
Yeah.
You really need to do it.
So, Bobby, I saw a guy, he made a quote. He said, do you want to leave your family memories or a mess?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where estate planning really comes into play.
I'll just drive this home with one point because Tim did mention that your state has a plan for you. And that plan is the same for our listeners in Tennessee and Georgia.
It's the
I
exact
must read
same?
It is the exact
Okay.
same, at least at the first level. And your spouse and your children will split your assets. So if you think you're leaving everything to your spouse without a will, that's not the case. And if your kids are minors, then the court gets involved to manage those assets on behalf of your children. And then your spouse is going to have to ask your kids for help if she or he runs out of money.
It's a pretty rough spot to be
It's
in.
a awkward, rough spot.
Yeah.
And if your kids are older and they've got creditor issues or a high risk job, for example,
Yeah.
half or a third of the money that you think your spouse is going to have goes to those children.
Imagine going to ask your adult children for help because your husband maybe passed away and now you ran through the third of the assets that you actually got. That could be a real problem.
Yeah, it could absolutely be a big problem. So, guys, with a couple minutes left, let's talk about that little nasty word, inflation. Tim, I'll come back to you on this one really quick. It's still there, guys. I mean, I know the numerical number is down under 3% now, But I think I gave an example a few weeks ago about, we feed our dog, and Rhonda buys a ground turkey, 3 pounds of ground turkey. It's went up almost $4 for 3 pounds of ground turkey. That's crazy to me. So the cost of goods are still out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Inflation's in place. The goal for inflation has been 2% for the feds recently. We've stayed under 3 just this last month, barely, by 2.9%, right?
Right.
And it's starting to kind of creep back up, which is the concern of what the Treasury, the feds are watching right now, and the reason they've delayed lowering rates for so long. I know I'm getting a little nerdy here,
It's
but
okay.
all this kind of plays into effect in the economic picture that we're looking at today, and it's going to affect the investments that you're getting into. Bonds right now are a hot topic that we're talking a lot about. Does it make sense? Are bonds still as effective as they used to be? I would argue probably not. I'll skip that conversation for now. But as this kind of develops, we just saw our first rate drop in this year happen at 1/4 point. That's not a very big drop at all. They're expecting a couple more throughout the rest of this year, but as rates drop, it becomes cheaper to borrow money. People spend more money. It boosts the economy. It's why Trump's pushing for it. It also makes it easier for people to spend money, so it's easier for inflation to run up. And that's the balancing act that we're trying to find right now.
Is that your feel on interest rates?
I agree with interest rates. I think they will cut them. I'm not as confident they'll be 2 because we see now some leading indicators that inflation is going to creep back up over 3%. So they may rethink that.
You think they'll go back up maybe? Or stay
Rates,
the same?
No, I just think they won't cut them as aggressively as we may think they are now.
Agreed.
So if we see another 1/4 point this year instead of a half, which is
think
being
that's-
talked about now, I wouldn't be surprised. You really got to pay attention to that inflation because the reason it's a killer is people say inflation is down. When inflation is down, it just means things are getting more expensive slower.
That's right.
It doesn't mean they're getting
That's right. That's right. It's big. Folks, listen, retirement planning is difficult. Don't do it by yourself. Work with a team of fiduciary advisors that will hold your hand, that'll get in the trenches with you, and make sure that your retirement plan is set up properly. There's so many different things we can help you with. A couple things I want to throw at you really quick. GIAquiz.com. GIAquiz.com. Go take that reality check. Then give us a call, come in and see us, and let's start putting a plan together for you. When we come back for our last segment, we're going to dig deep into choosing the right advisor. We're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill. And if we have some time, we're going to talk about women and wealth. We'll be right back. Too many people enter retirement without a plan or a tax strategy, and it costs them. Every dollar you save from taxes is a dollar that can be put to work to help secure your retirement. At Guardian Investment Advisors, we have the experience and the expertise to create a customized financial strategy that includes smart tax planning. It's not about quick fixes or magic formulas. It's about building a comprehensive, tax-efficient plan. We're offering a no-cost portfolio and tax strategy review to get you started. Schedule an appointment with us today. You'll be glad you did. Welcome back to Plan the Day on Tomorrow. My name is Gary Thurman. You're listening to Guardian Investment Advisors. Sitting here with my fiduciary advisors, Tim McDermott, Bobby Futch. We've had a great show today. Guys, we've talked about a lot of things, so if you didn't catch everything, go back and listen on our website. That's GIA Plan the Day, GIAPlanTheDay.com. We've talked about running out of money, healthcare costs, long-term care, taxes rises, Social Security, inflation, market volatility, estate planning. We have covered a lot of ground today, gentlemen. I want to jump into finding the right advisor. You guys have been telling me some stories of folks that have been coming in here lately from the radio show, TV show, from our social media, from our websites, from our events. And a lot of times when you guys ask them, Bobby, what brought you in to see us today? You're hearing, well, I haven't heard from my guy or my gal in a year, or whatever the case may be. They've never talked to me about long-term care planning or Medicare planning or estate planning. What's going on? How do people find the right advisor?
Yeah, I think you really need to ask 3 basic questions.
Well, you're overcomplicating this. Just call our office. We're right here.
But you know what? I invite people to ask us these 3 questions.
Sure.
Right? Because they're important to anybody you want to do business with. You got to ask if they're a fiduciary advisor. And that term gets thrown around quite a bit in our business. You really need to understand, are they being held to that fiduciary standard by the SEC, FINRA, or their license holders. So again, get nerdy here. There's a lot of different licenses you can have to give financial advice. The question you need to ask is, do you have the Series 65 license? That's what Tim and I have. That's what Brogan has. And that means we are held to that fiduciary standard by law, right? We can't act in any other way. Otherwise, we lose our license and our livelihood. So you need to ask them, are you a fiduciary advisor? Yes. Okay, what holds you to that standard? Because if they have another series or something like that, they can work in a couple different ways, including ways that are not a fiduciary standard. The second one, are you independent?
No, it's big.
We're independent advisors here at Guardian Investment Advisors. That means we don't work for any one financial company. We work for Guardian. And that's important because if you are not independent, you only have the tools that your firm offers.
That's right.
And the cool thing about an independent advisor is we can go, our toolbox is unlimited.
That's right.
You know, we can go out to any other
I like that.
company that has a solution and use them. And then the one that is most important is, do you like the guys or gals, and do you have a good relationship with them?
And do you trust them?
And do you trust
That's
them?
the big word, right?
Right? And so if you have just a working relationship with your folks, that's great. But you really need to trust them, get to know them, and they should be doing the same to you to make sure that you're a good fit and you can work well in the future.
I love that. Tim, I got a question for you, too. Before I do, folks, I'm going to just let you know, we will send my book, Plan Today on Tomorrow, right out to you absolutely free. All you got to do is text the words, Plan Today, 877-706-7526. Again, Plan Today, 877-706-7526. Tim, all these things Bobby said, totally agree with it. But the whole point is can you help someone discover their purpose, their lifestyle? And we don't just talk about growth. We cover all areas, and I think that's important with choosing the right advisor.
Yeah, as much as of a nerd as I can be and sit behind my computer and, you know, punch in numbers and use Excel spreadsheets and software all day, the retirement planning process comes back to what are the goals that you're trying to meet. There's something called behavioral finance that says, you know, all the numbers could be perfect, but that doesn't mean things won't come along the way. The way you react to things won't matter. All this plays a part into the retirement plan, right? And so, you know, while it may make sense for you to potentially try and risk it in the market throughout your retirement, because, hey, maybe the math makes sense that you could afford to do that theoretically, you know, you may not be able to sleep well at night knowing that there's a possibility that things don't go well for me, right? And so that's where we use things like the green bucket. That's where we're paying attention to what you're saying, what your concerns are, and what we're trying to accomplish at the end of the day to make sure that you sleep well at night and you're happy through retirement.
So, Bobby, it's not all about income planning, healthcare planning, Medicare planning. Those things are all important.
Mm-hmm.
But what type of lifestyle does this person want to live? I mean, we can adjust the incomes for that. What's their purpose in life? I mean, we got to know what those hobbies are.
Yeah, all those things you just mentioned are just a tool to get you to your retirement, whatever that looks like for you. And we spend a lot of time talking with people about that. Let's put the numbers aside for a second. What does your retirement look like? What does it feel like? What do you want to do? And let's use financial planning to make sure you can get to whatever your retirement looks like. And again, we spend a lot of time talking about just that because that's what we're planning for. That's what you saved for. So it's not about the numbers. It's about making those assets in the plan work for your retirement.
Yeah, because everybody's different, right, Tim?
Agreed, yeah. I mean, how many people we met so far this year, Bobby?
Oh, geez.
Throw out a number.
I don't.
200.
Yeah, has any one of their plans been the same?
No.
Yeah. Unfortunately, because it'd be nice just to pull out a sheet and be like, I already did this one for somebody down the road. But
Yeah, it just doesn't work like that when you do your job well.
Agreed.
So I want to jump into this, guys. We kind of talked about the big, beautiful bill earlier today, so I really don't want to get back into the weeds with that. But I want to talk about this great wealth transfer. And there's a lot of things coming down the pipeline, and there's going to be a lot of money passed him, a lot of money. And with everything that we're reading, it's that women are going to be the leading people. The women are going to get more of this wealth transfer than anybody else. How vital is it for our women out there to be on top of their game? Doesn't matter if they're married or not. You know, you might be getting grandma and grandpa's money or your mom and dad's money, and it's coming to the daughters, the females out there. I think women and money is an important issue we need to discuss.
There's a few things that come into play here. We just had a lovely new client that came to join us this year, and she had come out to, I don't know, 3 or 4 of our events with her husband over the last couple of years, and really liked us, really wanted to come sit down, talk with us. But her husband said, I like things the way they are. Let's just leave them alone, right? And unfortunately, he passed late last year. And so she called us early this year, came in, sat down with us. We were able to restructure a couple of things to kind of benefit what she was trying to accomplish. It's not that they were set up poorly by any means, but now that he's passed, it really changed the picture for her, knowing that she lost a Social Security. She lost the tax benefits that he gave, right? She went from a joint tax bracket to a single tax bracket. And now it's her goal to not just leave money to her son when she passes, but she is starting to gift him money right now so that she can watch him enjoy it and help him get through a hard point in life, right?
So, something else that really affects a lot of the women we talk about is, listen, guys, they're better caretakers. They just are.
100%.
And so oftentimes they're the ones staying at home raising a kid, maybe taking time off their working career
Great point.
to work around the house. And, you know, thank God my wife does that, because my house would be a wreck if I was responsible for doing that. But
We've seen your office, Bobby.
I know. My wife stays out of it because she can't stand it. But that usually means their Social Security benefits are less, right? They haven't had as much time to put money away into their individual retirement accounts. And we see this a lot. It's getting to be less than it was in the past, but you know, maybe the husband handles all the finances. So the lady
pretty
you were
common.
talking about that came and saw us earlier, she knew that she was okay. She knew that things were taken care of, but she didn't know the nuts and bolts of how it worked.
It took
Right.
her months to figure out where everything was.
Right.
Hey, maybe you said that, so I was making fun of your office. I don't know. But you talked about women being great caregivers to the children. Normally, they're the ones that's taking care of mom and dad when they get sick, too.
That's right.
I mean, that's what's called the sandwich theory or something like that.
Yeah, right. So they're taking care of kids, raising kids, and then the kids get out of the house and they think, that, you know, that I'm going to have the opportunity to go back to work, develop my career, and now mom or dad gets sick.
So they're
now,
the ones that's going to do that.
Yeah, now they're back to taking care of somebody and putting their professional careers on hold.
That's what my mom's doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it happens
it
all the
is.
time.
And the toll it takes on, I mean, I lived this, gentlemen, where my grandmother moved in with us. My mother had to take care of her. And what I saw that do to my mom, that was tough. I mean, that was tough, guys. I
Especially
mean,
in
she
her-
couldn't work. She couldn't raise her kids. She was taking care of her mom.
Yeah, in her circumstance, she was taking care of mom and kids at the same
Three.
time.
3
right?
kids.
That's really tough.
And she had me.
Yeah.
That was very difficult.
Yeah, and that often takes a toll on somebody that, you know, a working career can't touch.
Yeah.
And that's often overlooked.
It really is. And let's just a couple questions for you guys. Bobby, what's one risk that people need to ignore until what are some risks that people need to not ignore? Let's say they're 60 years old.
Yeah,
Give me something.
A big one right now is taking too much risk in the market.
Okay.
With the market has been so good for so long, and with the Magnificent Seven in the S&P 500 now, people know they're in the market. They know they're at risk. But we talk to people all the time that don't realize how much risk they have in their savings and how it can affect them coming into retirement.
And people don't know this. A lot of people don't know this, Tim. At age 59 and a half, 60, you can take some of that risk out of the market and start putting some money into that green bucket to get ready to retire in 4, 5, 6, 7 years and know that you're going to retire with a paycheck coming in right off the bat.
Yeah, we do this all the time. The point of this is to say, hey, look, at age 59 and a half, most 401k plans allow for you to do what's called an in-service rollover. You can take some of that money or all of it if you'd like and roll it into a program outside of your 401k. We want to make sure we're doing it in a tax-efficient manner. In other words, probably leaving it in that tax-deferred status if we are. Just make sure you're working with somebody who knows how to do this. So you don't end up with a big tax bill. But this could put you in a position to really plan for that retirement as you're leading up to it.
But it doesn't shut your 401k down if you're still working.
No,
That's right,
because you want to get that matching money, that free money, right? You want to do that. So listen, folks, again, retirement planning isn't easy. It's not something you should do on your own. You should come in, work with a team of advisors, fiduciary advisors that are going to put your best interests first. Let us wrap a plan around what you want in your lifestyle. Let us wrap a plan around what you see retirement looking like. We can do it. We just got to plan for it. That's why we plan today to own tomorrow. Again, if you'd like a free copy of my book, Text the word plan today, words plan today, 877-706-7526. One more time, text the words plan today, 877-706-7526. Gentlemen, great show. Good
Cheers.
job.
Thank you.
Proud of you
This was fun.
guys. Well, we'll see you guys next week on